This happened last year. I was shopping at my local Walmart, just doing some typical shopping and a random weeknight. The store was pretty quiet and was probably like 8 or 9 p.m. I had been in the store for about 15 minutes or so, and I was in the aisle where they have the fitness items. I was looking at one of those massage guns. I wasn't planning on buying one that day or even buying one at Walmart, but I had been considering getting one. When I walked by, I noticed it and stopped to read the box. I was in the aisle looking at it for a few minutes, and when I was doing so, I remember hearing some voices in the next aisle over. It happened to be a toy aisle, and this was sort of the back corner of the store. I heard a man's voice and then the voice of a child. At first, I paid no attention as I was looking, but soon I heard the man say, "I'll buy you this toy if you come with me." I assumed it was the child's father at first, but I didn't really know why he would say that. I couldn't really make out what the kid said back to him, but I heard the man then say something like, "Your mom said it's okay." Then I just had the crazy thought that maybe this wasn't the child's father. Then the man started saying, "Come on, let's go," a couple of times. I heard him starting to walk to the end of the aisle. I just had a really bad feeling about it. At the time, I didn't know if I was just being nosy or if I should do something. I decided to walk by the aisle and glance down to see. I left the aisle that I was in and walked to the next one over, which was a toy aisle. And when I looked down, I saw a man wearing a black jacket and winter hat, holding the hand of a little kid and leading her to the other end of the aisle. Their backs were facing me. I was kind of thinking on the fly, and I said "excuse me" to the guy. He turned around and looked really surprised. I picked up some random toy from the shelf. It was some type of stuffed animal. I said I wanted to ask the man in question if this would be a good gift for my niece. I then started walking over to them. He said he had no idea, and I said I thought he might know. I then asked if that was his daughter. He said no, and he was just watching her for the moment, but then said they really had to get going. Him and the child walked away. I really wasn't sure if I should believe him or not. Maybe I was making too much of it. I realized it probably was a reasonable explanation, and I turned and started to walk in the opposite direction. I was telling myself that nothing was wrong and I was just paranoid. Even kidding, about 30 seconds later, I heard a woman's voice calling out a name. For this story, let's just say the name was Sarah. The woman was calling out Sarah, not really loud, but enough for people in the aisles nearby to hear, including me. I walked towards the voice and found the woman a few aisles down and more towards the center of the store. When I reached her, I asked if Sarah was her daughter. She looked concerned and said yes. I had a terrible feeling, and I said that I might have seen her daughter with a man and I thought they might be leaving. We both started sprinting towards the front of the store. The good thing is that this was probably less than a minute since I had seen the man. When we made it to the front of the store, we saw the man and the child at the self-checkouts. He was buying one of the toys for her. The girl's mother started shouting, and the man claimed he was just trying to be nice and buy the toy for the girl. But he quickly tried to run away after realizing nobody would believe that. He ran out the door and was able to momentarily get away. I was just happy that the girl was okay and back with her mother. It turned out that the girl had wandered off from her mother to look at toy boys while her mom was shopping in another area of the store. The mother had believed that her child was nearby, but it actually wandered off much further. I also found out that the guy was located not long after this at all. I never thought a routine trip to Walmart could turn into a nightmare, but that's exactly what happened one fateful evening. It was a chilly autumn night, and the fluorescent lights of the Walmart parking lot flickered ominously as I parked my car. I brushed off the feeling of unease that washed over me, attributing it to the late hour and the empty parking lot. As I stepped out of my car, the air seemed to grow colder, sending shivers down my spine. Pushing my cart through the automatic doors, I entered the brightly lit store. The familiar smell of cleaning chemicals mixed with the scent of cheap plastic greeted me as I navigated the aisles. Everything seemed normal at first, but as I made my way deeper into the store, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The aisles stretched out endlessly before me, each one identical to the last. It felt like I was walking in circles, unable to find what I came for. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting eerie shadows on the shelves. My heart began to race as I realized that I was alone in this vast, labyrinthine store. I tried to shake off my growing sense of dread and focus on my shopping list, but the aisles seemed to shift and rearrange themselves when I wasn't looking. Items appeared and disappeared from the shelves, as if mocking my attempts to find them. Panic bubbled up inside me as I struggled to make sense of what was happening. Suddenly, I heard a faint whisper echoing through the aisles. It was a voice, soft and sinister, speaking words that I couldn't quite make out. I froze in place, listening intently as the whispers grew louder, surrounding me from all sides. I felt as though I was being watched, scrutinized by unseen eyes lurking in the darkness. Desperate to escape, I abandoned my cart and began to run, my footsteps echoing loudly in the empty store. But no matter how fast I ran, I couldn't seem to find the exit. The aisles stretched on endlessly, leading me in circles as the whispers grew louder and more insistent. I stumbled and fell, my heart pounding in my chest as I struggled to catch my breath. That's when I saw it, a figure standing at the end of the aisle, bathed in shadow. It was tall and thin, with impossibly long limbs that seemed to contort and twist in unnatural ways. Its eyes gleamed with a malevolent light as it watched me, its lips curling into a cruel smile. Terrified, I scrambled to my feet and fled, the creature's laughter echoing in my ears as I ran. I finally burst through the doors and into the parking lot, gasping for air as I stumbled towards my car. I didn't look back as I drove away, desperate to leave that nightmare behind me. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that Walmart holds secrets far darker than anyone could imagine, and I pray that I never have to set foot in that store again. My sister and I used to play this game where we would each go to Walmart with $20 and dare the other to locate the strangest item in 10 minutes. We frequently visited the same Walmart since we were accustomed to its layout, and it was only a short drive from our house. I wished my sister luck at the entrance and hurried to the far side of the store, where they usually had their most bizarre items. This guy was leaning on a toy shelf and stared at me while I was looking through this enormous box full of plush animals. I gave him a smile in return, trying not to be impolite, and hurriedly made my way over to the clothes area. I heard someone clearing their throat behind me and saying, "That would suit you," as I began to rifle through the racks in an attempt to find something with a goofy print on it. I pivoted to face the man who had been grinning at me. He gestured to a rack that held sets of lacy underwear. This seemed strange to me. Why was this person following me around the store and making strange noises if we didn't know each other? I went to go because I didn't want to be anywhere close to him, but before I could get too far, he reached out, grabbed my arm and said, "Hey, it's rude not to reply." I was able to shake off his hand and hurriedly left, making sure to go through a more crowded aisle so that, should he pursue me, I wouldn't be alone with him. I thought he had taken the hint and left me alone because I could not see him anywhere. Since the time was almost up and I hadn't found anything, I chose to go as soon as possible since I was too shaken to search just now. I went outside to the parking lot and hurried over to my sister's car since I always met her there. My sister wasn't inside the car when I got closer to it. I merely hovered above it, whispering to myself to hurry up since she had the keys. I took out my phone to call her and find out her whereabouts after waiting for a few more minutes. In response, she said she was waiting in line at the register. As our chat was coming to an end, I turned to look at the store, and that's when I noticed the eerie man. He was leaning against a shopping cart return and was staring at me. My sister was going to leave the store and approach me, so I started to panic. I didn't want him to hold onto her the way he did me. When I tried to call her again, she didn't pick up. I looked from the exit to the person and back again. Then I noticed my sister crossing the parking lot while carrying an ice cream tub. I swiftly swiveled to the side in the hopes that the guy wouldn't notice her eye contact and assume we were acquainted. I watched him for a little longer, hoping he would stay put. I watched his eyes widen as my sister started shouting to me from closer to the automobile. Then I noticed him starting to move in my sister's direction. When I yelled at her to go faster, she simply paused and gave me a funny look. She must have noticed the fear in my eyes because she turned to see the man approaching her. He was moving at a steady speed, but he was reaching inside his jacket and had a determined expression on his face. While my sister ran off and searched her pocket for the keys, I placed my hand on the door handle. When she turned on the key fob and we both entered the car and locked ourselves inside, I was so glad. The man simply stopped moving and grinned at us. He just stood there and watched as my sister threw an ice cream tub with a pizza flavor at me before we left the parking lot. I observed him remove his jacket and hold something, but I was unable to identify anything from the rearview mirror. He gave us a wave before becoming motionless and observing us walk away. When I informed my sister what had happened, she appeared worried. She then gave my arm a quick glance, enlarged her eyes, and ordered me to take a closer look. There was a ring of red blisters surrounding the area where he had gripped me. They had never been there previously. I have no idea why the guy did what he did or why his contact caused such an adverse reaction in my skin. All I know is that I haven't visited that store since, and I don't anticipate doing so in the future. If you want to see more horror stories, check out my next video.